Thank you for joining me on Vickie Talks. I think I have a pretty exciting show for you tonight. I have a very dear friend of mine, Miss Elizabeth Craig, and Elizabeth is a writer and author. How many books have you written?
Oh, that's a trick question. I think I'm on 27.
Oh!
I'm kind of losing count. That's embarrassing to say, but
She's written 27 books. I don't even know if I've read 27 books. That is so exciting.
well, thanks. It's fun for me. It's something just I love doing, and it's a pleasure for me.
So did you always, when you graduated high school, think, I'm going to be a writer?
I did, Vicki. I did.
Did you?
Honestly, I'm like a one-trick pony. It's a pretty good trick, but that's the one trick. I really can't do anything else. So I was like, it's writing or it's nothing. And I was trying to figure out how to parlay that into kind of a career of some sort, because my parents were probably a little concerned, wondering, how is she going to actually have this be a job? So I thought, well, maybe advertising or, newspaper journalism. But it ended up that I was able just to sustain a career with writing novels, which is something that was wonderful. I was really excited about.
Whoa. That just amazes me. But you do have a family.
I do. Yes, I have I have a boy and a girl. I have two kids together, but they're not really children anymore. There's
And a husband.
And a husband. Yes.
So there are more things than you can do than write, right?
Yes, and I have a crazy corgi puppy who also kind of is a handful.
Corgis are really cute.
Yes,
Yeah.
and two cats. So it's a full house.
Yeah. And I met you in Toastmasters.
That's right, exactly, which is a great place to work on speaking skills if you're a professional.
And you understand you wanted to join Toastmasters to improve on your speaking skills, because you go on some speaking engagements, do you not?
I do. I go to conferences, and I do a lot of podcasts, and both visual Skype type of podcasts and audio. So it's important. Right. It's important to be able to try and get better speaking skills.
Yeah. Do you ever do book signings?
I do, but I'm not crazy about them, because you can end up going to the Barnes & Noble and you sit there at your little table and you're smiling and you've got your books, and then somebody wanders up and asks where the restroom is, that kind of thing. Unless you have candy on your table. Candy is a great trick, because people will come over to get the candy, and then you can talk about your book a little bit.
Sure. So let's talk about your books. What kind of writing? Do you have a specialty, or do you just write whatever pops into your head?
I do have a specialty, and the specialty is a cozy mystery, as opposed to an uncozy. So you think about Agatha Christie, sort of like the Miss Marple type of mysteries, where you have a real puzzle that you're trying to solve. So these are not mysteries that are forensics based or something like that. It's really kind of an academic type thing, where the reader is almost going along with as almost like a sidekick to the sleuth. And it makes it fun for the reader, because they get the clues at the same time, and then they figure out, hopefully, who the killer is by the end of the book.
I've never watched much of Agatha Christie, but when I do watch, there are some on Hallmark. There's one with Candace Cameron Bure or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
And then who's the other lady?
I know who you're talking about, and I've seen it. It's like a garage sale.
Yeah, the garage sale mysteries. Is that a cozy?
That is
mystery?
a cozy.
Oh,
so moving into Hallmark.
Those.
Yes, those are great.
So do you have any plans of making yours movies?
I would love to.
Wouldn't that be?
It was so much. I've contacted Hallmark. They're looking for a younger sleuth. Usually, I write these octogenarian sleuths.
Well, now what's that?
I write sleuths that are over 80 years old. That's my big series.
Right up there with me.
Not quite. But so we have Miss Myrtle, and she's kind of investigating crimes, and she's a senior. And I guess Hallmark, they wanted it skewed. These ladies are a little younger in theirs. So I've got a new series coming up, though, and she's going to be a bit younger. So
what's that called?
It's called the Village Library series, and then book one is called Checked Out. So she's a librarian, and she's single, and she's in her 20s. So I thought, well, maybe this might be a slightly better audience for them, or what they're looking for.
And Candace Cameron is a librarian.
Oh, is she? That's right. I'd forgotten about that. Well, that might be overkill then.
Yeah. I
might want to switch occupations.
Another occupation for her.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
how do you come up with these ideas just it just seems to come natural for you, right?
I have to come up with an idea. That's just kind of the thing. So I sit down and I decide to have an idea. And it's just a brainstorming process.
Wow.
And at first, I think I was waiting for inspiration to hit. And then I thought, this is kind of a dumb way to work because the muse isn't always speaking to me. So for me, it makes more sense to be able to sit down and brainstorm and think about different, ideas and approaches. And that's the way I do it. And it seems to work out, pretty well.
Do you get writer's block very often?
No, I sure don't.
Wow, you see that on TV all the time.
I know.
People have writer's block and they have to go off in the woods and the mountains where it's Hawaii and places. And
well, I think it's because I have 3 different series going. Actually, I just started a 4th series, so I have enough, and I'm far enough into these series that I can just continue with what I'm doing. So the characters are already set, and I've already got the settings already in place. And so it's not such a hard thing to continue a series once you've started it.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit easier.
So you have basically the same characters
right.
in a series, kind of like a TV show where you have the same characters.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It makes it a lot easier. So that way you've got everything set up, and then they're just having different adventures every single time.
So what kind of characters? Are these likable characters?
Well, some of them are, and some of them are borderline unlikable.
Oh.
My Myrtle Clover, she's a little bit of she can be prickly. And she's a little Myrtle Clover.
Myrtle Clover.
Yeah.
You make up the names too.
I do, but I like to steal names from people.
Oh.
So, and that's all I take. So people are like, oh my goodness, where are you I've got, your name is in, my name is in your book. And I'm thinking, yeah, but it's just your name. I haven't stolen anything else.
Yeah. Oh, so you don't base your characters on real life people.
There's more trouble that way.
Yeah.
And publishers that I had in the past, they were like, it's fine to make sort of an amalgam of different people, kind of create a Frankenstein of different types of people that but you have to be really careful about just outright copying somebody. Although that would be the easiest thing to do. And just,
Don't they call that plagiarism?
Exactly, or a lawsuit maybe. Wouldn't be good.
We don't want that.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Wow, that just blows my mind how you think of these ideas and these themes that you have to keep going.
I think sometimes I start with the victim because that's the easiest thing to do. You can think about why someone would want to kill somebody, because I'm sure stuck in traffic probably 1,000,000 times a day or thinking about other people.
Yeah, for instance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that makes it easier because every book you've got to have a victim, and then you can think of 5 people who would like to get rid of that person for various reasons, and then you've got your suspects, and then the sleuth and the sidekick are the same throughout the series. I always feel like I'm trying to persuade people to write their own mysteries, and that may be what I'm trying to do with you right now, because I'm just like, everybody can do it. Just come up with the victim and the 5, it's just easy.
Yeah, everybody can write a book. You just think of 10 chapters, and then you fill in the blanks.
You fill it all in. That's right.
Really?
There's definitely a pattern to them, and once you get used to them or the rhythm of the books, it makes it a lot easier.
Wow.
But
I'm still amazed. I have to read one of these, but I'm not much of a reader.
These are pretty easy reading.
Yeah.
They're not stressful at all. That's the nice thing about a cozy mystery, is because you have this escape. You have this really idyllic, nice place, usually a small town, and then this really bad, terrible thing happens, and then at the end you get to tidy it all up.
Oh.
So it's a very, it's one of those, it's just a really nice, relaxing, satisfying kinds of processes. You have this problem and it gets solved at the end. It makes it pretty easy to read.
Well, I watch some mysteries on television, but I'm more of a TV watcher.
Well, Murder, She Wrote, that's a good example of a cozy type mystery where it's not ever gory. There's nothing really bloody that's happening. It's just all it's very satisfying. But although I guess Jessica Fletcher ran into what they call the Cabot Cove syndrome, where she discovered so many bodies in the tiny little town of Cabot Cove, it started looking like, there's got to be a serial killer here in this town or something. It got crazy. It was completely unbelievable that she would find so many. So they had to export her to like Atlanta and other places. Take her on the road so it'd be a little bit more believable.
Oh, so I didn't really follow her. I must have been busy when she was really popular, but I think she's back on TV now.
I think she is. Yeah.
I should probably do that.
Yeah, definitely.
I watch a lot of crime shows.
Yeah, it's crime, but it's cozy crime.
Yeah,
so that was like the 1980s, I guess. I was probably the only teenager in America who was probably watching this show. But
I
loved
she was your hero.
Oh, she was awesome. Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So do you have, you were saying a minute ago, anybody can write. Of course, that's your opinion. No, they can't. Do you have any tips for our viewers that, hey, if maybe you're thinking of that, give it a try?
Definitely. I mean, definitely give it a try. All you need is you can get started in as little as 15 minutes a day. No, I do sound like I'm selling it. But seriously, it does not take very much time. As long as you are consistent with it, I think, and build a habit, it just gets easier and easier as you go. I started out when my daughter, she's 17 now, but she was a toddler. And she did not watch TV, and she really didn't nap very much at all. It was one of those kind of babies where you're like, oh my goodness, this baby just doesn't stop. And she would watch one thing, and that was Elmo's World, which was just this tiny little segment at the end of Sesame Street. And she wouldn't watch the whole of Sesame Street, just Elmo's World. And so I had it on repeat, and I could write a page in that amount of time. It was like 15 minutes. I think it was like a 7.5-minute segment. She'd watch it twice and dance a little bit. I'd be furiously trying to write. And that's what I did. So I did a page a day. And, in less than a year, if you do that, then you have, really a book that's too long and needs to be edited down. So it's very, very doable. I just find it, don't ever try to catch up. If you get behind, you're sick one day or something, just don't try to catch up, because it's just too dispiriting to see that you have to double your word count the next day.
Yeah.
But it's easy to do.
But you don't really write, you type it, right?
I do.
Okay.
Back then, though, I think I was pretty much doing longhand until I realized, no, I'm writing a book twice, because at first I'm writing it longhand, and then you're typing it. So I decided that's not a good way of doing things.
Yeah, if you got a handwriting like mine, you probably couldn't even read it after you wrote it.
That's the way mine is now,
right?
Too. Because after you type for so long, then your handwriting, you just don't practice it anymore. I'm even typing to-do lists.
Maybe that's what happened to me.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to blame it on it.
Years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Wow. So what else do you do for fun?
Besides write, I'm trying to think if I have any fun. Let's see. I think mostly what I do is hang out with, obviously my husband and the kids and that kind of thing. But it's not a lot, honestly. I have a pretty quiet life, and I think that's probably the way most writers are, is we stay inside mostly, and I'll go out and write. Sometimes I'll write on the go. And that kind of, makes things interesting, because I'll see characters sometimes when I'm out, people that should be characters.
That makes sense.
And I've gotten really good at sort of surreptitiously taking pictures of people that I can, I'll be like, okay, this is going in my character file for later. And it helps to kind of get some inspiration. Go to the library, go to the coffee shop, or something like that.
Do you think you're a writer, you're more of an introvert?
Definitely so. Yeah, I much prefer to be at home and just hanging out there. And sometimes it's hard to get me out of the house.
Well, me too, because I don't want to get dressed.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out in my sweats.
That's the perfect thing about being a writer. Right. Just get to stay at home.
Or retired.
Exactly. Or be a writer and retire.
A retired writer. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. But I thought that was interesting. You said you go places and you see a character, and these things just pop in your head. I just think that's so amazing.
I think writers are really observant people for the most part, and that's one of those things. I guess in school we were probably accused of daydreaming, at least I was, because I'd be looking out the windows or thinking about something else and not really focusing probably on math the way I was supposed to.
Yeah. I was a daydreamer. It wasn't about writing books. It was probably about boys.
Oh, right. Yeah. I was always the person that people pass notes to, and I was having to pass it on. But
you were in the middle.
I was in the middle.
You never got the note, not the love note.
No, I was the one always passing it on. Usually, I would get in trouble because I was the passer. I'd be the one who would get caught.
I always caught the passer.
Yes, exactly. That wasn't very good. But I would, definitely. I mean, I love to read mysteries. If you like reading mysteries, then writing them would be obviously very easy to do. Or if you're someone who likes to read any genre and you read a lot of it, it makes it much easier to write it if you do that.
Do you know who Richard Castle is?
Is that the Castle TV series?
Yes. But it turns out, because I watched that for years, because he is really cute, you know what I mean? Woo. So anyway, I watched that for years, and then I was at a function, and we were talking about that series, a bunch of ladies sitting around, and she said, "You do know he's an actual author, don't you?" I said, "No, really."
I don't think I knew that either.
Yes.
I've only watched a couple of the shows.
Yes,
but I thought they were good.
actually bought some of his books. I bought used books on Amazon, and guess what? I didn't like them.
Really?
I tried reading them, and they just did not keep my attention. I guess I was so used to the series where it's so upbeat and everything and action packed that the book was like,
kind of dragging a little bit.
Yeah, but there really is a Richard Castle, and the actor Richard Castle, Nathan Fillion, is on the back of his book, and it tells about. Yeah, see, I didn't know that either, and I watched that show for years.
I think that would be kind of dangerous because you're thinking that something is going to be like the TV show.
Yeah.
Now, is he a writer on the TV show, though, I wonder? Or
No,
if
I
he's
don't
just,
think so.
He's just an actor.
They just use his name.
Right.
Don't ever watch the show before you read the book.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. Years ago when I was younger, somebody'd say, read a book, and I'd see this movie and read the book before you see the movie, because you get much more out of the book, I think.
I think so, too. I'm always that way. I never think that the production is as good as the book was, except maybe Harry Potter. I think they did a really good job with that series, the Harry Potter books.
I never even watched one of those shows, let alone read the book.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, it's not something that I ordinarily read, but it was a lot of fun.
It's usually for kids, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Big kids.
I'm a big kid, so I should read that. But like I said, I don't really like to read. However, I'm very interested in what you do. I want to read some of your books because I do like mysteries, and I think I could get into that cozy thing.
I think so. They're, like I said, they're fun, they're engaging, and they're not heavy reads at all, even though they have usually a couple of bodies in them.
Yeah.
I've got quite a body count, I think, at this point, because I've got 27 books, and I've got at least 2 bodies in each one. So
really?
Yeah, it's a lot. I have one at the very beginning usually, and then I have one right in the middle of the book, just when you think you're figuring out who it is. Then
give your secrets away.
I know, I shouldn't do that. I told you, everybody, we can all do this. I'll lead people through it.
Because when you go on some of these speaking engagements, you actually talk to other writers and help them.
I do.
In their journey.
I do. I talk to them about writing mysteries because frequently there are a lot of mystery writers in the audience, but I also talk to them about things like promotion and things like that. And the kind of promotion that I do is very subtle. It's mostly just things like websites and making sure things are keyword optimized, all that sort of boring stuff that actually does help with visibility. So there's a lot of information out there for writers. It's a great time to be a writer, for one, because you have so many options. You can go straight through to a publisher, like I have. I've worked for Midnight Ink and Penguin Random House as well.
Wow.
But I also work independently, so I took my characters back and have been writing them independently. After that, I got my character rights back.
Whoa. Is it hard to get published? Because you see on TV where people send in their manuscript to a publisher and they get the rejection letter.
It's very random. I mean, I think it's one of those things. I feel like I was lucky. I feel like I was lucky. I think it was the timing, and I was very persistent, and I sent out, of course they say you need to have an agent first, so I sent out probably 100 or 110 letters to agents asking them to represent me to publishers for a book that I had written. And I got 100, 110 rejections. I mean, just every single one. Okay. And this was over the course of like a year and a half. And so I said, well, I'm going to change the rules, and I'm going to submit the manuscript directly to publishers. And that's what I did. And you're not supposed to do that. You're always supposed to have your agent send it on along. But I wasn't getting anywhere, so I decided just to go ahead and send it directly, and I got 2 bites for it. I mean, it was crazy. And so I got the first one. I said, okay, this is good, and have that work out. And then I had somebody from Penguin write me and said, oh, we were going to put an offer on this book, but I see congratulations that it's going to be published by another publisher. And I said, I would be happy to write something for you too. You know, is there anything that you would like to have written? And she said, actually, we're really interested in having a series based in Memphis called the Memphis Barbecue Series.
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the Neelys were really popular on Food Network, and they were trying to kind of capitalize a little bit off of that. And she said, why don't you just audition for it and send us 50 pages, and we'll see what we think. Wow. And I got that gig, and at that point, finally, I got an agent. I had actually 2 publishers and 2 books, and finally, that's what it took to get an agent. But it was crazy. It was definitely backwards. That was the backwards way to do it. But
you were just, like you said, persistent.
Yes.
Because you knew your work was good.
I knew it was similar to things that I had seen published,
yeah.
and I didn't see any reason why it should be rejected. But I knew it was difficult to get an agent for sure. But it was much easier actually to get a publisher. And then after I had the agent was able to schmooze and do that sort of stuff. And she lived up, near, I guess, the publishing district up in New York and all.
Oh.
And so she had an acquaintance who was looking for a Southern writer to write another series. And I guess I was the only Southern writer that they knew, which is bizarre because there's so many of us, especially mystery writers. And so they contacted her, and she said, would you be willing to write this other series? And all they care about is that it is set in the South and involves quilting and mysteries. And I was like, I've got it. That's fine. I'll do that. And so I also auditioned for that, and they said, this works. And then I had enough. I was like, we need to stop now because that was 3. And it was great. It worked really well for about probably like 5 or 6 years, and then I was like, I want to take my characters back and just do it on my own, and that's what I've been doing. So that way, I've kind of cut out the agent and the publisher in the process.
Oh, you don't even have an agent anymore. You just go straight.
Exactly. Well, she still represents me for the old stuff, but not now for the new stuff.
I'll tell you what, I'm just learning more and more about Elizabeth Craig, a.k.a. what's your other name?
Riley Adams.
Riley Adams.
That's right.
I saw that. I looked you up. I Googled you.
It's kind of weird to have multiple names, but it works out okay.
Yeah. A lot of criminals do that.
That's right. Exactly.
Hey.
Have an alias.
Yeah. Wow, that's just so fantastic to hear how well you're doing with your writing. Because to me, I can't, people say they'll write poems. I'm like, wow, I can't even make 2 words rhyme, let alone write a poem.
Well, poems are another thing. I'm not a good poet.
What I'm saying is just writing in general.
It's tough, and I think different types of writing, can be tough. I've tried to switch genres before, and it's hard. You get used to writing one thing, and honestly, after you've been writing one thing as long as I have, that's your brand. So it's stupid to go do something else, even though you feel like doing other things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to do other, the reader wants you to.
Right.
And I've tried different. I did what I call a cozy zombie book.
Ooh.
It was a story that had to be told. It was one of those stories I was like, I do not have time to write this story. It was bizarre. It kept haunting me. I kept dreaming about the story until finally I said, I'm going to write it because it's getting on my nerves. And I wrote it, and then I put it out under another name. That was Liz Craig. And I told my readers, I said, I've published a book, but it's probably not going to be your cup of tea because it's not what I've been writing. It's not a cozy mystery.
Oh.
And I don't know how many of them read it. But it's been a much younger reader, and it worked out okay, but it's not my brand. So it makes it tough when you've written something that's completely different.
Well, you obviously know how many books got sold, right?
For that one, I'm not really sure. I know that I make steady income on it. With the other ones, I know exactly what I'm making for each book. And I can pretty much plan that out because the readers are really loyal, and I get a certain amount with each book that come out. So, yes, works out well that way.
And then do you get paid for Kindles?
Oh, yes.
Really?
I do. So you can go directly to Amazon and publish your books that way. And go directly there, and go directly to Nook and Kobo and Ingram, which distributes to the libraries and all these different retailers. And then they take just 30%, which is actually a lot. So I make 70% off of that, which is a lot more than you make with a publisher and an agent.
Yeah.
at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done the Kindle thing. I think I would probably do better sitting there reading on my phone sometimes than flipping a book. A lot of people like books because they love the smell of the paper. I'm like, my paper doesn't smell.
Exactly. Or if it does smell, maybe there's something wrong with it, because I don't like the way that old books smell. And I've got some old kind of moldy books, I think, in my house too. But you've got a phone, so you've got a Kindle app, and it's right there. That's all you need. You've already got the way that you can read it. You can start by checking them out from the library, because the library will send a digital file, a book over to your phone.
Oh, you're kidding? Really?
No, yes.
I did not know that.
And then you can have it and renew it the same way. Yeah,
because the Kindles aren't really that much cheaper than the hardbacks.
It depends. It does depend.
Paperbacks.
Yeah, if it's a major publisher, then they're trying to persuade people to buy paper, so they don't give really much of a discount for.
So I can go to the library and check you out?
You don't even have to. Yes, you can, but you don't even have to go to a library. You can just do it online. Go to the library's website and log in.
No.
Yes. And then you find a book and you see if it's available on Kindle, and if it is and it's available for lending, then you go ahead and check it out right then. And then they send you over to the Amazon screen, and you click send to my reader, and it sends it right there.
Anything?
It costs nothing.
It
is awesome.
I'm going to do that. Liz, this has been so enlightening. I am so thankful you came to visit with us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, wow, it's so exciting. I hope that you guys have learned as much as I have. If you want any information on any of these cozy mysteries, you can get in touch with me, and I will give you the information. My phone number is 704-995-0446. So give me a call if you'd like to be a guest on the show. I just like talking to people. That's why we call it Vickie Talks. So thank you so much
for
being here tonight.
Thanks, Vickie.
See you next time.